I imagined from the beginning that I really want to be a successful person. And I believe everybody around me kind of doubted it.
To me, it was, how do I create a life for myself where I was going to be just absolutely thrilled and happy to be able to just do what I was doing every single day.
The two of you have done a wonderful job online with building that trust, building that credibility, being confident in your message. So I just want to say kudos to you both on that. Welcome to Signature Insights. I am Sam Hewit. You may or may not know there is more than one way to build a real estate career. Joining me today are two very special guests to talk about how they are building their careers here in the GTA. We're excited to welcome our very own Paulette Sopoci and Sura Hamdan, both of whom are new to the business but not new to life. Their experience has taken them very far so far, and today they're going to share their stories. Paulette is focused a little bit more on a niche market, while Sura is going to share with us how she's going for a more widespread approach working with her database of people. While there is no wrong way to do it, you're going to hear some great insights today about how the two of them have found success in a very competitive landscape. Ladies, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
We're very excited to have you. Paulette, let's start with you. Why don't you share a little bit about your journey that's brought you here to real estate so far?
Okay. Well, first of all, I'll tell you that I am 9 months, 3 days as a real estate agent. And I wouldn't be here. I have to say this right out of the gate, Sam and Sura. I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for two things. And that is the power of social media and niching down specifically in social media, using social media rather, and royalty signature. I mean, there is absolutely no question about that. So I just needed to say that right out of the gates.
Thank you.
What was the question? Because I'm almost like I just needed to make sure that
okay.
That was said.
Thank you very much for sharing. Tell us about your journey. What brought you here to real estate?
Okay, so there's a bit of a backstory, and I feel like it's important for me to share that because I spent 30 years in sales and marketing for an entrepreneurial coaching company. I traveled the world. I was on stages. I sold from the stage. And during COVID, or of course when COVID hit, everything went belly up. And the passion that I have for that particular business kind of started to fade. And at that same time, a beautiful old mansion came for sale, one that I used to dream about when I was a little girl. So imagine a poor farm kid on the bus every single day. And this house came for sale during COVID, and it was almost like a visceral moment. I said, no, I'm buying it. So I said goodbye to my world that I had known for 3 decades, and I bought this beautiful mansion thinking that I was going to just be an entrepreneur, focus on the hospitality, weddings, and so forth. Fast forward a year in, while I'm in the middle of making tea sandwiches for an afternoon tea on a Friday evening, and I said, what am I doing? I am inherently a salesperson. I love marketing. I love sales. I love this house, but really I wasn't going to be able to scale and do the things that I wanted to do in my life unless I thought of a different strategy. So I decided to take my real estate courses at that time. So a year and a half later, I was looking for a brokerage, and here I am. And 9 months in.
Like you've birthed a baby.
I did.
9 months in.
But I'll tell you right now, so I'm team niche. So, Sura and I are going to have a little back and forth on this one. But what I also discovered while I was renovating that manor was that in the second half of my life, I'm 54 now, I'm happy to share, but I said to myself, I am going to focus on joy, right? To me, it was, how do I create a life for myself where I was going to be just absolutely thrilled and happy to be able to just do what I was doing every single day. And I knew at that moment that I wanted to niche right down into old homes. So
I love that.
Yeah.
What a story. And I love how, you shared that once you're a salesperson, you're a salesperson. It's just in your DNA. It's in your blood.
It is.
Yeah,
it
it's in your blood.
absolutely is.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Sura, tell me about you. What did your journey look like? You've been here a little longer than 9 months, but not much. So share with us your story.
Well, it all started 20 years ago when I moved to Canada. I mean, I lived a tough life, and coming here, I've always dreamt of having my own property or my family's own property. And my dad would always drive us around in the car, and I would look at houses, and I was just fascinated. And as I was growing, I saw the city I lived in and surroundings were growing as well. And truly, it was fascinating for me to see it evolving. And I knew that one day I am going to be in real estate. And fast forward, my family has always rented. And it was always myself. Sura, we need you to look for a property. And I'm like, okay, no problem. I'm happy to do it. It was helping my family, friends, extended family as well, finding their own home. And I was really inspired by the journey I was involved in with my family and the surroundings. So it was a dream that I had. And I knew that one day that dream is going to become a career. And yeah, it was truly calling me.
Yeah,
and here I am today.
Real passion for it.
Yes.
You've been here a little bit longer than Paulette, and you have had tremendous success. And you've been a real inspiration for a lot of new people that have started since you've started, because you've only been licensed since 2022.
That's right.
And you've also been licensed during arguably the hardest 3 years in our young lifetime. So it's a double win or a double congratulations because of what you've been able to build for yourself in what has been very, very tough market conditions. So kudos to you. And Paulette, you've also had some great success in a short amount of time. So let's talk a little bit more about this concept of niche versus a broad focus. I know that when I started in this business a very long time ago, there was a really prominent marketing agency at the time, and they advocated for niching down your business. But what they also talked about is you could niche down with your database. That was okay. But they wanted you to get hyper-focused on what it was you were known for. So in your case, Paulette, you are going to be known for something very specific. Sura, in your case, I think you're also known for something very specific, but it's not a product type. It's not a housing type. I think it really is your passion and your, what you feel inside about this Canadian journey you're on and the quest of home ownership. And so, Paulette, let's start with you. Tell me, where did this love of historic homes you shared with us in your story previous, but what made you want to make that your business focus?
Just kind of tapping into the fact that, again, when I turned a certain age, I said, you know what, I just want to focus on what I want to do. And that was, help people, connect people, buyers and sellers, with these beautiful treasures across Ontario. Because of social media and the amount of work that I have done in building up my social media presence, I am quickly becoming very well known as Ontario's old home real estate agent. And I have, how could I say that sort of right out of the gates? And that I'd like to think that the constant DM saying, can you help me buy an old home? I'm looking for some property. Or real estate agents in the area reaching out to me saying, can you showcase my property? I currently have 230,000 followers on TikTok and Instagram, and those are all organic. Now, when TikTok first came out and when I was in the middle of restoring or rehabbing the mansion that I had owned, that's where a huge amount of my TikTok growth came from. But when I realized that I wanted to become a real estate agent, I shifted my focus and said, I'm going to focus in on Instagram. And there's a difference between the two. TikTok is often known as an outreach platform. It's going global. You're getting a lot of global followers, a lot of trolls there. I don't know. I find a difference between that and Instagram, where Instagram is very much a nurture platform. So I wanted to put a lot of my emphasis on branding myself through that. But while I was taking my real estate courses, it was incredible because all of a sudden this community was starting to cheer me on. So they were following me through this journey of taking my real estate courses. And I had said right out of the gates, I am going to focus only on old properties. So fast forward to where we are today, I feel like the experience of being able to niche down, there's a saying that's out there that if you speak to everyone, you speak to no one. And that is where I've really leaned into, is creating a community of people who love old homes. They love to antique. They love to, go on road trips and do sort of historic or vintage things. So I've created an entire social media platform around lead generation and digital downloads that support building a really great email list.
Good for you. Good for you. Congratulations. Sura, on the flip side of that, you are going a little wider in your focus, but I know you're doing a lot of business with your database. Tell me what you think the pro is to not going so specific on a niche, but trying to keep it a little broader with the people that you're connected to, the types of properties that you're selling.
Yeah, so I really didn't want to focus on like niching. I really wanted to be more in. I wanted to try a little bit of everything because I didn't know where I was gonna fit, and trying a little bit of condos versus detached, semi-detached would teach me where I wanna fit, and slowly I saw myself more in residential, but more helping families that wanted to own their first property, first-time home buyers, and because I've always wanted to be one of those first-time home buyers that wanted to own a property, focusing on one thing was not for me at that time.
Do you see that evolving for yourself as your career grows?
Yes, I do.
And what would that look like for you?
I still do a little bit of everything, and I enjoy a little bit of what I do. It does take a lot of time, a lot of efforts, because you're not the one to go to. With niching, you're the one to go to. You have your brand, and they come to you because they know that this is the product that you brand yourself in. Where with me, it's a little bit of everything, and it's been working well for me. I've been enjoying it, and I believe I'm still going to do a little bit of everything and not niche towards one
specific segment.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting to have this conversation with the two of you because normally what we see is more the journey Sura's on, where, especially given your age, you usually get into, the real estate business and you kind of start with where your clients are, where like you start on that bottom rung of the property ladder with those first-time buyers. And then as they grow and your business grows, then all of a sudden you go from first-time buyers to like the move-up buyers, right? The people selling their condo or their semis to get into a detached. Once you kind of move up from there, then you get your investors start coming to you because they really believe, they trust you. They know you could teach them for a good investment. Then you have families, the kids start growing, the kids get into the house. So you really are on more of a typical journey. And Paulette, it's so interesting when you started and you shared this idea with me about how you were going to niche. I remember thinking, that's like a very specific market to go after. Do you see any cons, any challenges to being so specific in your audience?
I will say in the first few months, I doubted myself. I thought, oh my goodness, this is an interesting market that we're in right now. Should I open myself up? And what I said to myself was that, no, I was always going to be branding myself as that old home real estate agent. However, if someone needed or wanted to buy a condo, of course I was going to help them, right? I wasn't going to say no to that specifically. However, I was very clear within my own sort of boundaries that if someone wanted me to sell a condo, I'd refer that out. So it was trying to stay true to my sort of own values and my boundaries and what I really wanted to do, just kind of stay within my passion. But I have no regrets. I really feel like niching down has actually broadened my my community. In fact, to grow from 3,000 people on Instagram when I first started with Instagram to 75,000, that was probably over a 2-year period. I have been introduced to an incredible amount of Ontario followers. And those are my people. And whether they're ready to buy now or whether they're ready to buy 6 months from now or a year from now, they keep following me for my content. They know I'm passionate. They know I love old homes. And I'm aligning with, I don't need to have every deal, every transaction. If I had 20 or 30 really great old homes to help buyers and sellers with, that's all I need. Yes, that's right.
Sura, tell me, with your business, is it what percentage of your business would you say is database, friends, family, people you know?
I would say 50% of it.
Okay.
And the other 50% is, open houses, door knocking, friends through social media, high school friends that we disconnected many years ago, and suddenly from a reel or a story that was shared among friends, they would connect with me and say we would like to buy. And yeah.
That's a big number. And tell me, what do you think that when they're watching your content on social, what do you think it is that that speaks to them? What do you think when they see you, they're like, oh, in this very competitive landscape, because there's a lot of realtors doing good things on social, what makes them sort of reach out to you specifically?
I believe it's confidence. I imagined from the beginning that I really want to be a successful person. And I believe everybody around me kind of doubted it. And when they saw me grow inside, like you have to grow inside of you first. And that self-confidence started to come out. And they said, okay, you know what? We can trust her. We can trust Sura, and we can go to her and ask for an advice. And I'm sure she's going to be transparent to direct us to what to do. So yeah, self-confidence.
I think that when I listen to the both of you talk about social media, whether you're going to niche or not, I think what I hear so strongly, which is so incredible to hear, is that what people buy from you is that you are confident, you're knowledgeable, you have this area of the business that you're very clear on, you've done the research, you know the data, you know the numbers. And so when you show up on camera, people go, oh, yeah, I mean, she's only been in the business for 3 years. She's only been in the business for 9 months, but she really knows what she's doing. And I think that that's, for me anyways, as a leader in this business, such an important message for new agents, because when they come in and they say to us, how am I ever going to build a business? Because who's going to trust me in the beginning? I think the two of you have done a wonderful job online with building that trust, building that credibility, being confident in your message. So I just want to say kudos to you both on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really noticed both of you doing a really great job at that. One of the hardest things, I think, to being a commission salesperson is the change in lifestyle, where you no longer have a job, you're no longer, getting a consistent paycheck. If you were talking to new agents that were thinking about leaving a stable career, let's call it, what advice would you have for them, Paulette, in terms of, being prepared for that change?
Okay, so a few things in terms of advice. I was straight commission in my past life. So for 3 decades, I lived and breathed that.
So you were used to this.
I was used to that. But what was very important for me, again, like the chess game was already in play when I sold the manor and I downsized into something a lot more, less financial pressure, I'll say that. And to me, the reason for that was that I wanted to have a kitty, because I knew to play in the world with the big dogs, I suppose I could say it that way, was that I had to have a kitty to be able to invest in properties. So for me, I do a pre-inspection report. And I do that because I feel that that transparency is very, very important. One, I'm newer to the industry, so I need to learn about each property. But to have that pre-inspection report for an old property, I feel like it's an important part of sort of my selling process.
Yeah, your value.
In terms of advice for new agents, I would say take advantage of the incredible opportunity that social media presents itself. Never in a time in our life have we ever had an opportunity to market ourselves for free in such a way.
Isn't it wild?
Back in the olden days, right? You didn't have to pay for commercial spots or, newspapers, any of that. Now, there is a strategy to that though, because you really have to feed the beast. That's kind of my funny way of saying.
What does that mean, feed the beast?
You have to be consistent on social media, because the algorithm will not support or favor you, or will not favor you if you are sporadic with your consistency. So in order to do that, I am posting almost every day, whether that's a static post, a carousel post, a story, or a reel. And I really study what Adam Mosseri, the CEO of Instagram, is sharing with the world. And okay, this is what we're doing now. Reposts are the hot new thing. Okay, well then, all right, I've got to think about my strategy on so I can get more reposts. Or if you're using edits through Instagram, for instance, the algorithm favors you if you edit through their editing platform. So all those little nuances and helping you understand how to maximize social media so that you can be the best person that you can be. So that would be my advice, is take advantage of the incredible opportunity that social media has presented itself in this year, in 2025. And then the other piece of advice would be to join Royal LePage Signature. I mean, I can't say enough about that.
Thanks.
And the reason for that is, Sam, and I'm sure you experience that as well, Sura, is that I'm sure as many have a very high level of expectation when it comes to response times. So being able to service my clients at the very highest of levels, and being new, ensuring that all of my needs were getting met, all of my questions were being answered in a very timely manner, so that, because that's a reflection on me to my clients. So when I was interviewing, it was very clear that response time was going to be one of the highest sort of markers for me and who I was going to choose. And hands down, there was no question that I wasn't going anywhere else.
Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Sura, tell me, on the social media side, in that same kind of vein, I know you do a great job with your consistent posting. I see all of your content. It always looks wonderful. I love your listing reels when you do them. How do you use it as a connection tool to reach out to people? Like, how do you use it as a keep in touch system?
I use different platforms. WhatsApp. I really like WhatsApp because if I'm connecting with people from different countries and they're investors coming here, WhatsApp is where they go to. And I have my own setup. It's my business account. I have my catalog and I add all my listings, and I get people connect with me through that. Instagram, sharing. I like to share my daily life as well as real estate. They need to see both. They need to see what I do in my daily life, and they need to see my real estate life. So keeping them updated with what's coming up is very important. And
do you ever feel vulnerable when you're sharing that personal stuff, like the who you are piece?
No, I don't, because before real estate, I was I used to work with Air Canada as customer service, and I really enjoyed using TikTok back then. And I had too many followers back then. Account was hacked. Got a new account, but it wasn't. I really enjoyed it.
Oh my gosh, you used to do customer service for Air Canada. No wonder you're a great realtor.
Yeah, of
I
course.
cannot
It's meant to
imagine.
be.
Yes, the level of abuse you must have taken.
Oh my God, yeah. Actually, I was recently talking about it to one of my clients, and he asked me, how did you start? And I started with customer service. I was in restaurants for about 7 years, and then I shifted to customer service. I've always wanted to work with Emirates Airlines, but Air Canada was hiring, so I got accepted and I worked with Air Canada. I enjoyed it. It was a different experience. But real estate is definitely my passion.
And same question I asked Paulette. When you're a new person getting started, do you, did you yourself personally have a little, like, kind of kitty, a little slush fund off to the side because you knew your income was going to be changing month to month? How do you kind of navigate that?
It was actually, it was COVID. So COVID hit and I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I always knew that I was running. I gained some weight and I said, you know what? It's time to go out there. Let's do half an hour of a run every day. And I looked at the properties around me and I said, something that I really enjoy, going back to my vision 20 years ago, is real estate. So let's take the course. And slowly, I thought maybe I don't want to do real estate because it was really difficult. COVID, income. But after COVID, it was exciting for me, but also at the same time, it was nerve-wracking. I was looking for a brokerage to get into real estate, and I just didn't have that many people around me that were in real estate. And I found somebody on my Facebook that I messaged and I said, which brokers do you work with? And she responded and said, Royal LePage Signature. And I still remember it was the first days coming back from COVID. And I walked in, I saw the front desk, and I'm like, oh my God, coming from COVID with anxiety, seeing people smile, complimenting me. And I met with Matthew. I was like, okay, this is it. This is where I want to be. Oh my God, yes. And also, to be honest with you, managers. So Michael called me and said, Sura, you're not in the office today. What's happening? And I said, why do I need to come to the office? He said, to connect. So I started coming to the office. I connected with managers, realtors, and I wanted to hear conversations around me to learn. And from that, I believe I expanded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Paulette, I'd ask you the same question. Do you find it a difference being in the office regularly, listening to other people as a newer person? Do you find that makes a difference?
The rate in which you can get your questions answered is heightened when you're in the office, because it's not just the managers, but it's also everybody else in the office, all the agents that are willing to help you. So being here just reminds me how much I need to be here more regularly. So
yeah. Yeah, we really have tried to foster an in-person environment because the sales team is out. You guys are out. You're never in one place, regularly at more than multiple days at a time. You're out meeting clients. You're showing, especially you, Paulette, you're all over Ontario. Sura, you service a wide, geographic area. And so we really wanted to build an area where you could kind of land, right? It's like coming home again. Like you can be all over the place, but you can come back to this one spot that hopefully is a grounding kind of environment. But that's a funny story about Michael, because he will say to me, like, I haven't seen so-and-so lately. I got to find out what they're doing. I got to see what they're up to. So that's a good story. So what does it look like when you generate a lead online? How do you transition that into an actual deal in real life? Sura, I'll start with you.
Oh, and that's actually how it started with me. I connected with realtors from Royal LePage, and I called many of them when I first started. And I said, if you're unable to take on leads, I'm willing to take those leads. So if you can just forward those leads to me, I'm willing to work with them. So it was 3 things I did. I would call that lead in 3 different times. One would be during the day, one would be during the afternoon in different days, and one in the evening. First of all, you want to make sure you're connecting with somebody that's actually serious, that's ready to buy or sell or whatever it is that they're coming forward to you for. And when I felt that this is the right lead, then I would take them on, and the next step would be to ask them to come to the office, meet with them, and connect one-on-one. And then the third thing would be to go on showings, or maybe I would need to meet them again and see what their interest is. So I would say, take that online lead, speak with that person a few times, get to know them, get to know what they want, bring them in the office. And that's something I learned from one of the managers, bring them to the office. And then that you see what the final product is.
Awesome. Paulette, same question. Do you find it easier taking a lead from Instagram into real life? Do you feel like you are already kind of ahead of the game because they've been following you online?
one of the most important things that you realize when you are engaged in TikTok and Instagram is that you need to get them out of those platforms. So there's one tip, though, that has kind of kept my head on straight, because there's always DMs coming into Instagram, and I spend most of my time on Instagram these days. But you can actually, there's a notation where you can call them a lead on Instagram. So they will show up as a lead in Instagram, so that when I'm scrolling through several hundreds of DMs, I can quickly spot those that have reached out to me, have connected to me, or asked me questions where I thought, okay, that's a bit of a buying question. We're gonna like just tag them as a lead, so that I know that they are my priority when I'm interacting with them on Instagram. So that's number one. Well, what I've done was I've created a monthly report called the Ontario Old Home Report. That lives in Stan Store, which is where all of my digital downloads live. And there are two things. So when I post a new Ontario Old Home Report, I will get maybe anywhere from 20 to 50 new leads, people that want that report. So these are people actively interested in buying an old home in Ontario. And this month, for instance, I did stone homes, so field stones, limestones, and there's a huge allure. They're coveted kinds of buildings. And I posted that on September the 1st, and we're now on the 3rd of September, and 30 people have requested that report specifically. Those are 30 people that I need to follow up with saying, hey, what do you think about that property? Are these properties that I've showcased? So kind of tying back to what you were saying, first thing is to start interacting with them, tag them as a lead on Instagram, but most importantly, get them out of Instagram and get their email. So every month they get dripped on with my Ontario Old Home Report, but I also have other digital downloads that correspond to the things that I love to do. Again, I think I mentioned this, like the ultimate antique guide for Ontario or historic hotels to stay in. So it kind of is along the line of my personal interests and the interests of the people that follow me. Now, how do I translate these into actual clients? Making sure that I'm calling them and so it's not just getting their email. Now it's like, hey, let's meet. Let's meet for coffee. I want to know what you're looking for. I love to learn more about you. And that then progresses that relationship even further. So
yeah, getting them offline when you've met them online is such a key piece of the puzzle. If you want to do actual deals, right?
yes,
You want to
absolutely
actually
imperative.
get business done.
Yeah.
In wrapping up, is there anything you would have changed about the way you've started your career? Sura, anything you would have changed?
When I first started, I was on social media, but social media sometimes can take you away from a lot of things, and it's time consuming. So I kind of pushed back and focused more on my database, sphere of influence, and I regret that because that's where people find you. Like Paulette said, it's social media is where they look up for you. We're always on our phones. So if I were to go back, I would say just stay connected with social media.
Mm-hmm. Good advice. I like that. Paulette, in your long 9 months.
In my long 9 months, I think, again, just spending more time in the office. I mean, just kind of tapping into what we were speaking about earlier, because the amount of wisdom that is, the collective wisdom that is in these walls is just, you can't measure that. So I would do that a little bit more consistently, but I feel like I'm on the right track. But being here absolutely will help.
I think the two of you are doing tremendously well, and you only have green lights ahead of you. You really do. Congratulations to you both.
Thank you, Sam.
In the meantime, if you're not already connected to our socials here at Royal LePage Signature, please take a minute to do so. And you can find both Paulette and Sura on Instagram. Paulette is under @OldHomeCharming, and Sura is @Sura.Realtor. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you for having us.